Are you prepared to take the actions that are required in order to be ready for a major event that will bring about a complete and total transformation of the financial landscape that you will face in the future? Due to the fact that the official announcement has been released to the public, the United States is now giving its approval for the world's first ever exchange-traded fund, ETF, for XRP. The final regulatory hurdles have been surmounted and the final documents have been signed. The countdown has officially commenced. At the moment, we are having a conversation about the introduction of the Canary XRP Exchange Traded Fund, ETF, which is scheduled to take place in the near future. To be completely honest, it is probable that a number of other ETFs will be released in the next 48 hours, including those from firms such as Grayscale and 21 Shares. This will make it possible for billions of dollars worth of institutional capital to flow directly into XRP, as opposed to just millions of dollars. This is the moment that has been eagerly anticipated by every member of the Bitcoin world. A large number of investors who have invested in traditional funds, pension funds, retirement accounts, and hedge funds will all simultaneously place big buy orders for the exchange-traded fund at the exact moment that the fund goes online. Prior to this point, these investors were not allowed to invest their money directly into cryptocurrencies. Indeed, we are keeping track of the official files on a minute-by-minute basis, and we are aware of the exact date and time slot of the debut. The Securities and Exchange Commission's final approval was not simply an endorsement. Rather, it represented a substantial alteration in the regulatory posture. We have successfully been able to figure out the one unassuming word that is contained in the last files. The fact that the term regulation is used in reference to XRP is an incontrovertible demonstration that the United States banking industry considers it to be a regulated commodity. When combined with the legal clarity, the exchange-traded fund, which is a type of financial instrument, gives the guarantee that a sudden supply shock will be the primary feature of the price movement. This is financial mechanics, not an educated guess. It is necessary for us to get a unanimous agreement regarding the gravity of this occurrence. The issue is not merely a matter of expecting that the asset will receive millions of dollars. Rather, what we are actually hearing are estimates that the asset will receive a minimum of $10 billion in the very first few weeks alone. Remember when the Bitcoin exchange-traded fund was first introduced to the public? If money from institutional investors enters the market, we will demonstrate to you that the chart and give you an exact explanation of how XRP is projected to surpass it exponentially. This is because XRP has a smaller market cap and a greater degree of utility. They do not buy things in small amounts or in small quantities. They are in the process of buying some materials in order to exert control over the available supply of XRP and to bolster their exchange-traded fund, ETF shares. Corporations such as Grayscale, 21 Shares, and others are currently competing against one another. This leads to the emergence of a demand situation that is mandatory and that the market is unable to handle. It is a fact that the institutional supply shock is genuine, as has been asserted. As a result, at this point in time, we are keeping an eye on the cold wallet holdings of notable exchanges, and I must admit that the supply is just running out of stock. A substantial amount of XRP that is currently available on the market will be absorbed by these exchange-traded funds, ETFs, as they are introduced. This will result in the creation of a vacuum that will, in a way, force the price to increase dramatically in order to meet the sudden and enormous demand coming from institutional investors. XRP has been acknowledged as a dependable, regulated investment for the world's major financial institutions as of this moment. This recognition is a direct consequence of the Securities and Exchange Commission's clearance. As a result of this approval, it now has access to an almost unlimited quantity of regulated assets, and you are cognizant of that fact. The fundamental reclassification of the asset is the most important consideration in this decision. The trading ticker is not particularly relevant. The court ruling that XRP does not constitute a security in secondary transactions was the first stage in the case of Ripple versus the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. The final and most definite stage at this point is for the exchange-traded fund, or ETF, to be approved. By providing its final approval, which took the form of a green light for an exchange-traded fund, ETF, that takes advantage of the 19b4 regulation for commodity-based trust, Shares, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has in essence given its stamp of approval. We have been examining the completed documentation that was filed, and if I may be completely honest, there is one specific term that is used in the description of the item. The paper has a single, unassuming statement that describes XRP as a digital asset that is equivalent to other assets that have been acknowledged by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. This modest admission, which is downplayed to the point of silence, is the most authoritative, silent, and incredibly significant message that the SEC could ever convey. XRP can be deemed an official commodity when it comes to all regulatory purposes. This completely eradicates any and all uncertainty that could ever exist, allowing every single financial institution, brokerage firm, and conservative investor to use XRP in the same manner in which they would utilize gold or silver. The predicted price increase will be fueled by this complete lack of regulatory risk, which demonstrates that the asset is clean, compliant, and prepared for adoption on a global scale. After this very long wait, the moment has finally arrived. The historical data that we have gathered about the debut of the Bitcoin Exchange Traded Fund, ETF, the inflows amounting to billions of dollars, the supply shock that accompanied these inflows, and the price trend that subsequently followed are all being applied to XRP. When all is said and done, XRP's considerably lower market capitalization, considerably smaller niche pool, and significantly higher utility indicate that there is an exponentially bigger potential for growth in percentage terms. As a result, we estimate that the value of XRP will climb to a starting point of $500, which is based on the same type of institutional tendency that we have experienced with Bitco. At this point, this is not only a dream that will come true in the far future, this is the price target that has been established through the market dynamics that have been brought about by. It is even possible that by itself and without any additional factors, the flow of $10 billion in the short term may set off a price discovery phase that, in a matter of moments, will exceed every other all-time high that has ever been recorded. Furthermore, it is important to point out that this prediction is actually somewhat on the low side. This is because of the fact that Ripple's worldwide partnerships in the field of cross-border payments are producing an immense and ongoing need for utility, which is not even taken into account. The engine's continued operation is made possible by the utility, which acts as the driving force, while the ETF is nothing more than the spark that ignites the engine. With Grayscale 21 shares, the competition for the institution has already gotten underway. Despite the fact that Bitwise and Canary Capital are both making efforts to provide the most appealing XRP product, they are both confronted with a single, insurmountable obstacle: acquiring the XRP that forms the basis of the product. The competition to acquire and retain vast quantities of the token has resulted in the supply shock growing at an alarming rate. The decline in the balances of exchange accounts is something that we are seeing. XRP has been transferred from exchanges to cold storage wallets at a rate that is unprecedented in history. As a result of this, the quantity of XRP that is accessible for trading on the open market will be decreased. There is no other way for the price to respond to the influx of buy orders for the Exchange Traded Fund, ETF, except to rise dramatically. The reason for this is the tremendous multi-million-dollar chunks of capital that come from traditional finance. The residual supply of retail products has an immediate increase in value as a consequence of this mandatory accumulation that occurs at the institutional level. If you want to take advantage of the current opportunity, you need to act swiftly because the window of opportunity is closing right now. This is a chance that will not come around again, therefore I must be really honest about it. The moment has come. The XRP Exchange Traded Fund has been approved for the specified slot, and the Securities and Exchange Commission has provided its final approval. In addition to that, there is a sum of $10 billion that is waiting on the sidelines, just anticipating the moment when the bell will sound on the stock exchange. For a very long time, these next 48 hours will be remembered. We have developed a projection of the trajectory to $500 based on precedent that can be validated. This is in addition to the confirmation of the status of the commodity, which was achieved by means of the process of decoding the final file. In addition, we have conducted research into the dynamics of the institution. This is the most important narrative of the decade, and it is unfolding in the present moment. Do not become the investor that lets slip by this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to build up a fortune because you failed to act on news that has been confirmed as a sure thing. If you truly comprehend the tremendous significance of this announcement, please make sure to do the following. Click the like button, leave a comment with your target price, and most importantly, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you do not miss our live coverage of the